All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast. I am your host, Bailey Eichbrett. And as always, I'm joined by co host and tonight's producer, Mr. Andy Full. Obviously, I'm in Tennessee now, but Andrew is taking over the reins on the producing side of things because apparently my Airbnb Wi Fi is down. And while I have great phone service, I don't want to rely on my phone hotspot. So Andy is anchoring this thing for at least this week. Hopefully in Texas,
Yeah.
we have Wi-Fi. So
I'm a little pokey and I missed some comments. Keep blabbing there because I'm getting used to the whole thing. I've never been on this end before, so we will see how it goes. But it should go. It should go well. I'm pretty computer literate, so I think I could handle myself here somewhat.
heck yeah, dude. Well, either way, I appreciate you taking over things. I literally just got off the water.
That's why we're partners.
What's that?
That's why we're partners.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I literally got off the water 50 minutes ago, and dude, it was very cold. It's been a grind these past couple days, cause like, and not in terms of catching fish. Like we're finding a lot of fish, but dude, like the biggest fish I caught so far on Chick is 3.5 pounds.
Yeah.
Everything beyond that is all 2-pounders. And well, granted though, I did see my first ever in person 10-pounder. Went out last Friday with Alex Rudd and Caleb Bell. And Caleb has a thing where he likes to throw live bait now and then for magnums for these fish that are ridiculously hard to trick. So he kind of strategically throws live bait on some of these current breaks. And Alex Rudd put together by himself a 40-pound bag and broke his PB by 10.5 pounds.
On live bait.
It was his live bait PB, but like still, I mean, beyond just the magnitude of fish he caught, because like he caught like a 10.5, 8, 7, like multiple 7s, and like a high 6 for it was, I don't even know his full total. The dude crushed it. I mean, it was sick to watch, but I think what was cooler for me was watching how crazy he went when he caught his 10. It was funny story about 10. So before we get Ronnie out here tonight, what's that?
I said I did get a FaceTime.
Yeah, I made sure to FaceTime Andy so that he could see the 10 as well. But so Alex was crushing him, and he caught an 8, and I was just sitting there, and I could only catch 2-pounders on a trap, and Caleb and I are getting our teeth kicked in while Alex is throwing live gizzards. And so I'm like, all right, screw this. I'm going to try this thing. I'm going to try this live bait thing. My first float with that thing, we drift by a stump, and my bobber goes flying down. And Caleb's like, give him a second. So I gave the thing like 10 seconds. And I reel down into it, and I feel tension, and then pop. And literally 2 feet behind my bobber was Rudd's. And he hooked into the 10.5 pounder right then and there. Now, and then Caleb looks at me and he goes, Alex just took your fish.
that was a hungry little bugger.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. Good grief. Let's see. I'm doing this from the phone. I've never done this from the mobile here, so let me see if I can keep up with the comments. Let's see what we got going. Backlash Pros in, John Welsh, Bass Kayak and Beers. What's going on? Shadow Bassin, you are here every night. You and Backlash Pro are here almost every single night. Kudos to you guys. Ryan Dahl, what's going on? Really cool episode tonight with Ronnie Kelley. Hopefully he will be joining us here soon. And
queued up in the feed, so we will get him in here in a second. So we'll finish up the story here. So how's the rest of Tennessee going for you?
Tennessee is great. I mean, the other day it was 71 degrees, but to the point of it was very weird conditions to try to adjust to. In terms of for 15 minutes, it would be piss pouring rain and overcast, and then the next 15 minutes was clear skies, slick calm. So it was pretty much junk fish, and I caught them on 12 different baits the other day. Caught a lot of fish. Again, nothing over like 2.5 pounds, unfortunately. I haven't really figured out where these. I know where the big fish are, And that was what the cool part about the live bait is like it really shows you how many fish are actually there.
Oh.
So it's kind of like frustrating when you know you're floating over 10 pounders and you can't get anything to bite. But I'm hoping because what it was is a warming trend, and we had a cold front come through this morning. So I'm hoping over the next couple of days it's supposed to be consistent weather. Hopefully it'll stabilize and the fish will start eating a little bit better because the pressure's supposed to rise a little bit. Because this morning it was a pressure drop. So as that pressure's dropping, it was supposed to be good. But like once that's dropped, it's the bite just turned off completely. But
yeah, I'm sure that
I got a couple more days. We'll figure it out.
That massive cold front that came through, as we saw with like the Elite Series too, and that rain, sun, wind, it's got them all sorts of bugged out. And they ain't no northern New York fish that you can catch them in any conditions. So
I was telling Caleb today, like, because we're sitting there, we're like questioning what we're doing, and we did run into some good fish. We figured them out pretty well towards the end of the day. Although we couldn't put the school in the boat, I hooked into one on a Vision 110+2 and I went twitch, and leaned into him, and it throttled it, started pulling drag, came up, boiled at the top, and then pulled off. And Caleb and I looked at each other, and we knew that was a grown one. But unfortunately, couldn't get him in the boat. And then pretty much that school was gone after that. So it's just we're putting pieces together. But either way, we got a few more days.
Heck yeah. Now, are we giving away 2 bags of coffee again tonight?
Every Monday, man. Every Monday, the Outdoorsman Coffee Co. is giving us 2 bags every single Monday to give away. So tonight we'll do 2 comments tonight. Why not? Let's do 2 comments.
I think that's fair.
And let's see if there's one for Ronnie. Maybe Ronnie can pick his favorite comment and can choose the winner.
We do have one comment here from Jacob Meeker who wants to know if we've seen the Giants. Who
hasn't?
So, all right, well, let's get Ronnie on here, and we can talk a little bit more about what's going on down in Texas.
Let's do it.
Hey, man, how you doing tonight?
What's up? What's going on, guys?
What's going on, Ronnie?
Oh, man, just hanging out, dude. Just waiting on you guys. Sitting backstage, it said. I
Sorry
didn't know I was going to be
hanging.
backstage. I'd have handed out backstage passes to the people I know. That's awesome.
Dude, first and foremost, we were trying to get you on a while ago.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you came down with the COVID. How are you doing?
Man, I just wasn't feeling good. I'm fine, dude. I was down in South Texas partying, fishing hard. Things were just catching up. About every other night I thought I had the Rona. It was downright dirty, man. Yeah, I missed you guys on that one. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited about it.
Of course, dude. Yeah, we could not get you on the show.
Especially when you've been around all the excitement down there in Texas recently.
Yeah, down there on the freaking what's going on down there?
Jeez.
That's one of the things that we really wanted to talk to you about tonight was that whole polar vortex deal. Like, well, yeah, it sucked for a lot of people, and it's very unfortunate for Texas, for a lot of homes, and the power being lost and all things along those lines. But in terms of bass fishing, would you agree that really helped the fishing?
Oh, absolutely. So it's funny. I've heard a lot, talked a lot, and discussed a lot kind of what's going on. I think it's the perfect storm. I think there were 2 perfect storms that hit this week. I think one was Choke Canyon started to suck. And Choke Canyon doesn't suck. It's usually real good. Like, that lake's got it. But what was happening there is every duck and coot in the nation was on Choke Canyon. And they were just tearing the grass up, man, like faster than anything I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, tens and tens and tens of thousands of birds are all over this lake, ripping the hydrilla up, chewing every little leaf off of it. At the same time, the lake's dropping and the hogs are covering the bank and the wind's blowing and it's muddy and everything up. So originally, we weren't even supposed to go to Ivy. There was no plan of Ivy. What happened was last year, or the December 2018 going into 2019, a bunch of 6 Sense guys got together around the Lake of the Ponds area, and that's kind of how we all met and all that sort of deal. Well, then later on, 2019, when I went to, or no, this was 20, excuse me, going into 2020. When I decided I was going down to Choke, I texted Ben Milliken to let him know, And he was like, hey, dude, that sounds pretty awesome. Let me know how it is. And I told him. He came down and fished, filmed a lot of stuff, and had a great time. Caught his PB down there at Choke. So as soon as I decided I was going back down there this year to run guide trips, I text Ben, and he was in. So in the meantime, I talked to the sales manager at 6 Cents, and I'm like, hey, dude, might be time to kind of get all the guys back together, and do a 6 Cents trip. So then, of course, he gets on the phone. He gets Luke Duncan from I'm sure you guys know Luke Duncan from up in the Alabama to Tennessee area, and then Darian Craig, Justin Royal from Austin, Bateman Baxter from Kentucky. Gets all these guys from 6 Cents. Everybody's coming down to Choke, fixing to have Team 6, fish off at Choke. Well, of course, this freaking 100-year storm blows in, right? Snows everybody in except for Milliken because he just doesn't care. He just drives through the snow. And so we're all stuck at home. Nobody can leave their house. And because Milliken's got his best friend Zark with him, Zark's like taking off time from work. You know what I'm saying? He can only be gone these allotted amount of days. So dudes got to go fishing. They got to go according to schedule. And again, they just don't care about the snow. And so they drive like 16 hours straight through, all the way through, and get to O.H. Ivy because last year somebody dropped him a tip and was like, hey, dude, this lake O.H. Ivy in Texas, if you're ever back down, you need to check it out. It's full of giants. Just so you know, that's all the info he got. That's it. Yeah. Last year somebody told him he needed to check it out. And so he took with that and did what he did. So they got to go. So, dude, they're 2 days early to Choke in, and they stop at Ivy. So they get there, and they just pull out to this island and start scanning. And they start seeing these fish sitting on the edge of what had happened is this lake like 5-10 years ago was really, really low. And as it came up, these little sticks, like salt cedars, they grow up. They're like 5 foot deep, and or they're like 5 foot off the bottom, and they're in like 20 to 30 foot of water. And they'll just out on these ridges and these long points, those bushes are just everywhere. And these fish are like sitting in them, above them, and out in front of them off these ridges. And they're all suspended, dude. It's like the perfect storm. So Choke Canyon, everybody goes, Milliken goes there. That first day he catches, 36 pounds on 6-pound line on just a 3-inch swim bait. Next day they bust 60 pounds with a 16, and 2 12s, a 10, some 8s and 9s, which that video is going to air tomorrow night, I believe, on Milliken Fishing. And it's going to be epic. It's going to be the best day ever caught on film in the history of bass fishing. It's freaking nuts.
I saw that. Yeah. Do you know what the exact weight was? I'm very
curious. It's 60 something. They had a 16, 2 12s, a 10.
You're over 40, right? With 3 fish with the 16, 2 12s.
Crazy stuff, dude. You realize that's the 16th biggest fish, or no? Let's see. That's the 16th biggest fish ever caught in Texas, and that's the biggest bass caught in Texas in 22 years.
The way I look at that is like my PB is 6.2, and I witnessed my first ever 10-pounder in person on Friday. So you combine the both of those, and that's what he caught, and I just can't even fathom that.
and nobody's even talking about Milliken's 2 12-pounders.
Yeah.
I mean, if I caught 2 12s in one day and everybody forgot about it, I'd be real upset.
Yeah.
But so
it's a fair point.
We all meet down at Choke. Milliken and Zark and Coleslaw leave Ivy, and they come down to Choke Canyon, and dude, it sucks. It just, like I said, it's the perfect storm. That front came in and it muddied the water up, which I think is important because when they were at Ivy, Milliken's only spent a day there. He got there and it sucked. They loaded up the next morning. They were gone. They went straight back to Ivy. And, of course, our phone starts dinging at an hour into it. He's like, dude, we got 30 pounds in the first hour. So we kind of decided, hey, man, we might want to head that way. So what I think happened is that water is pretty clean. It's pretty clear. Milliken talked about this earlier on Luke Duncan's Low Budget Live, but, the water's really clean around there. And I do think that any fish that had already started to transition, because make no mistake about it, the area that they're at is typical pre-spawn. They're in a staging point at the mouth of major spawning areas and some secondary points as well. But these huge ridges, these huge long points that have big flat areas that have those bushes on them, those fish are out in front of those. They're around the spillway. They're around the dam. And they're out there just kind of waiting. And I think if that polar vortex wouldn't have hit, then those fish probably, and the water's probably, here we are into March, the water's getting up into the 50s, 55, 56, 57, depending on what happens. If that doesn't, then I think a lot of those fish are kind of pushed up and they're a little bit tougher to catch versus sitting out, never seen a lure before, absolutely never seen an Alabama rig. And there's snipers in the water. I mean, there's freaking snipers in the water. You're just scanning around and you see them sitting over there and you put an A-rig over their head and they bite it. Yeah. So it's, yeah, I definitely think that. And I think the shad, obviously the water was down into the 40s. I think the first day they got there, they even said like some 38, 39 degree water. So I think some shad probably started to die off. Every one of these bass we're catching are just bloated, dude. They're throwing up shad, 5-inch shad in your boat. Some of the guys talked about catching with baby carp in their throats. So wow. I definitely think that storm had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, total sidebar, but I absolutely love that they're naming using Panoptics sniping. I think it's badass. But dude, it's something kind of interesting that my buddy Caleb and I were trying today. Is I had mentioned how Caleb uses live bait in the winter months when things get really tough. It's a way for you to go out and still be able to catch big fish. He goes out and cast nets his own Gizzard Shad, and for fun he caught like a giant, like 10-inch Gizzard Shad.
Yeah.
And I said, screw it, dude. Let's just try it. Just see, like, worst case scenario, we just run into a giant, or we just, we don't end up using it. It really put into perspective for me what these fish can actually eat. When on that 10-inch gizzard, we caught a 2-pounder.
Yeah, dude.
It really puts a lot of things into perspective. It's like,
oh yeah.
You got guys saying, "No, you can't throw a bait that big." I call BS.
No, really. What sucks is when you throw some kind of soft plastic that big and a 2-pounder eats it and tears it up.
Yeah.
25-pound, 2-pound fish.
Yeah.
$25, $25 2-pound fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And at Fork, the Gizzard Shad spawns a really big deal. When that water starts getting up into the high 50s, low 60s, those Gizzard Shads start roaming around those points. Dude, we start targeting those things with big swim baits, glide baits, that sort of deal. Yeah. But that deal down at Ivy, dude, it's insane. Dude, my first 5 casts, we get there, we get up at like 3 a.m, all of us that are still at Choke Canyon. We get up and we haul butt. We get all the way down to, it's like 4.5, 5 hours. We haul all the way to Ivy. We get there. They're in the parking lot waiting on us. We drop down. We run right. Actually, we launched way up the damn river. I don't know why. We ran all the way down. I was freaking cold, dude. I wasn't planning on running that far, and I didn't wear no kind of bibs or nothing. So we run down there, and I hop up on the trolling motor, and they stop in front of this little island. Milliken goes over to the right. He goes, "Hey, dude, there's been some fish in that left point." So I go over on the left and drop the trolling motor in the water, and boom, there they are. And I'm like, all right. So I throw out there, and I got Kevin Bateman Baxter with me. He's in the back getting his shit out. And I throw out there, dude. It's like, bam! I'm like, here I go. I got one. And I hear him in the back, wait, I got to get my cameras. And I reel it in, and I flip it in, and I throw it back. And I throw back out there at another one. I reel and reel, wham! And I set the hook, and I reel it, and he's getting mad. He's like, dude, you got to wait. I came all this way to film. You got to let me get my camera out. So I think I caught 4 fish my first 5 casts, dude. It was wild.
Yeah, we were teasing Kevin because you're used to seeing lures all over his social media, and then finally you actually see your fish picture.
Yeah, dude. Bateman could fish. Bateman caught him. He did really, really well. Him and Casey Sobzak from 6 Cents got out there a couple days in a row and just whacked on him.
Didn't Casey catch like 14?
Do what?
Didn't Casey catch like a 14-pounder or something?
Yeah. So let me tell you this story. So this is where it got gut-wrenching. So the last morning, we've all kind of – Milliken's gone. He's been gone for a couple days. I think Luke and Darian had left the day before. And so now it's just me, Casey Sobzak from 6 Cents, Bateman Baxter, and then Brett Cannon from 6 Cents, and then Spencer Fair from 6 Cents, and Zach Keinhardt from 6 Cents. All these guys are, marketing, sales, social media guys, and then the owner. And so me and Casey kind of had this little deal, like we're going to catch a big one, we're going to. And I think for me, in hindsight, of course, looking back on it, I don't think I really had the faith that I was going to catch a big fish like that. Does that make sense? Like,
Mhm.
it's kind of like buying a lottery ticket. You buy a lottery, and I don't really buy lottery tickets, but if I did, I would not expect to actually win. I just buy one because that's what I'm going to do. So, Casey got like this look in his eye, dude. He was like all in on this. And so he starts kind of holding me accountable. He was like, dude, you're not leaving. Because the night before, I'm like, hey, dude, I'm out. Justin Roll fished with me. We fished till noon, had a killer day. We did a couple videos for 6 cents, and he's out. And I'm like, hey, I am too. Casey's like, well, dude, you said we were in. So I'm like, so we were all leaving at noon that day, dude. Like, that's it. We're done at noon. We're gone. So I've got Brett Cannon in my boat, who's the marketing director for 6 Cents. And I'm like, me and Brett the night before we talked, and I'm like, Brett, I want to fish with you. We ain't got a chance to fish. So me and him head out, and then Bateman and Spencer Fair are in Brett's boat, and then Casey, Subzak, and Zach Kinehard are in his boat. And we all head out, and it sucks, dude. It's terrible. We're not catching them. The schools are running for my A-rigs. Me and Brett run around. We run to one little area. He was like, hey, I saw some fish over there. And we're scanning around. We get around to the spillway. Well, we start seeing some big ones, like big ones. And I pull one of them up to the boat. And when I'm pulling them up to the boat, I turn my dial into 20 foot, which at 20 foot, each square is 12 inches, right? So 2 squares and suckers 2 foot long. And this dude's like 2.5 foot long, or like 2.5 squares long. It's huge. And I'm joking around. I'm like, that's got to be a catfish. It's so big, it's got to be a catfish. And then it swims. It comes all the way to the trolling motor, stalls, kind of floats down, turns around, goes back down. And we see like 3 or 4 this size. We get them to move, but, man, they're just not really interested. So keep on going. Don't think nothing about it. About 9:30, I'm like, dude, I'm out. I'm sorry. I got to go home. I got to work at Fork on Sunday. Haven't been there 2 months. I got a 6-hour drive I got to get. So I take Brett to his boat with Bateman and Spencer Fair, and he gets in his boat, and I load up and I leave. Dude, I get about an hour down the road, and the phone, not even an hour, maybe 30 minutes down the road, and the phone rings. And it's Zach and Casey, and they're like, dude, where are you at? And I said, I'm on down the road. And they're like, you got to turn around. Brett just caught a 14.4. And I'm like, what? And he's like, dude, I'm not BSing you. Brett just caught a 14.4. Said, y'all found some fish earlier. He went back over there and caught one of them. You need to turn around. And I'm like, oh, no. What? Dude, I'm already focused on getting home. Like, when I get into go mode, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I've already downed the Mountain Dew. I've already got my snacks, dude. I've got everything. I got a little bit of barbecue, a little hot spice. Got everything I need for a 6-hour road trip. And they're telling me 30, 45 minutes into it, I got to turn around. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm good. I said, guys, I got to work. I got to go. So I cook it on down the road. I get about an hour and a half down the road. The phone rings. And it's Brett. Brett's like, dude, I got to tell you about my fish. But first, Casey just caught a 14-pounder a little bit ago. And I'm like, wait, what? No, he didn't. He's like, Casey caught a 14-pounder. Dude, I got nauseous. And then I got nauseous. I was sick in my stomach. I'm like, I've just made the wrong decision of the century. Like, I should have turned around, dude, while I was only 45 minutes down the road. And then I started feeling guilty because I didn't feel, I wasn't happy for Casey. I'm trying to be happy for Casey, and then I feel like my life's falling apart, slipping into depression, dude. So, yeah, dude, those guys went back over to the spillway area, and they just both got their A-rig right in front of the right one at the right time, and she ate.
Good grief.
Getting some good comments here.
Jodon said, I told him to turn around. What? No, man, no, dude. Jodon's a lie. That's not the truth.
Yeah, we got Bateman in the house.
I wish he
well.
would have.
Yeah. Bateman showed up. Says Captain Ron.
Kev's good people.
Yeah,
we all love Kev over here.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, for those that are tuning in tonight, if you guys have any questions pertaining to obviously what we're talking about right now, feel free to shoot them out for Ronnie. Dude, it's so interesting because like you'd think kind of like how you talked about where you want that dirtier water because it kind of lowers their vision and it helps them eat better. You wouldn't think in these crystal clear fisheries that they'd be eating that good, especially with all that's happened. I don't know. It's just it's a weird concept for me to think that crystal clear water in Texas and those fish of that caliber are eating that good and that often.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. If you look back and you think about Lake Fork, Rayburn, Toledo, lakes like that, a lot of times this time of year you start to hear about these giants getting caught on a jerkbait. And I think a lot of times those are on the south end of the lake. The water's got good visibility. The shad are out there. They're kind of doing their thing, maybe dying off, maybe coming up with the sun. You know, when it's cold, the sun gets up and pulls that bait up, which was happening a lot. I actually saw some fish busting shad on the surface and talked to some guys that saw it as well. So, you know, I think here's what I think happened. So I think it was a perfect storm. There's something called New Lake Syndrome. You guys probably heard of it, but back in like 2008, 9, 10, 11, when Falcon was really, really blowing up, what had happened is Falcon had dropped substantially for a long time, and everything grew up, and it gave it habitat. And not just habitat, but fresh, green, new, thriving habitat. And so if you look through just every lake, you just look at every lake in history, when they start to spike, when they hit that upward swing, when they're really peaking, it's just habitat, whether it's bushes, whether it's flooded this or that, or whether it's submerged vegetation like coontail, hydrilla, especially in Texas. But when those lakes have abundant vegetation or a source of habitat, and they're left alone for a little bit, man, they do this. Falcon did it. Choke Canyon did it. I was at Choke Canyon last year. There was nobody there. And those fish had never – dude, they were the dumbest bass. These are my favorite bass, by the way, but they were the dumbest bass. As long as you had a pulse and a hook, you were catching fish. You didn't have to know how to set the hook. You didn't have to do no – even if you couldn't skip a dock, you could catch a bass out here. These were the dumbest bass I had ever seen. And it was a New Lake Syndrome effect. And I think essentially that's what's happening at Ivy. And everybody's talking about the locals were catching them. I believe that the locals were catching them. I have no doubt they weren't doing this. I mean, they maybe, some old dude caught a 13-pounder or something, didn't turn it in, but not at the level of what's going on. They didn't do it. They didn't do it. What's happening right now? There's no way.
Yeah, and there's a really good question in the comments right now from Ryan Dull, and he said, "Do you think people will still be catching these giants for the next month there, or will it get overfished and spook them all out?" And Ronnie, before you answer this, I want to take a stab at it, and you can either tell me I'm relatively right, or you can tell me I'm an idiot. Feel free. But what I kind of think about it is, I think obviously fishing pressure is fishing pressure. Obviously, it affects fish to an extent. But I think that with this polar vortex, the way that these fish were chewing is it creates this instinct, this natural instinct in the fish that when it gets that cold, that they need to feed, they need to eat, kind of like all our fish do up here before the ice comes. There's windows that they feed really good because it gets cold. And that's kind of like their natural instinct because essentially winter is coming, almost like a hibernation type of deal that you hear for certain animals, when winter's coming. Is it along the lines of that where it'll fizz out those warmer temperatures start coming and they settle more?
Well, I think the polar vortex is probably what positioned them so much. So the freak thing is they're sitting out there and they're not around anything. They're just kind of out there in the middle of no man's land roaming. These schools aren't really sitting still. They're just kind of like if here's the bottom with the sticks on it, those fish are just kind of going around like this really slow, and then out on the end of it, you'll see some big ones just sitting out here like this. So I think as the fish start to move up, but I think the polar vortex deal is a really big deal. I think, like I said, after 3, 4, 5 days of just the water dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, they got to eat. And I think the shad die off has got to substantially, because these fish could not have the guts on them that they have if they were extremely active. Those fish aren't very active, so they're able to eat that much without really burning a lot of energy, which makes me think there's a substantial shad kill. And I think what's going to happen is of course, they're going to turn pressure. The lake's not that big. The map says it's 20,000 acres. It's 21 foot low, so I would think it would be substantially less than that. And there's not a whole lot of areas that these fish are really setting up to the extent they are. Now, the deal is the way that people are targeting this fish is sniping them. I mean, you can get out there and fan cast, but these giants, they're coming on live scope. And so I think, you limit the amount of people that A, have live scope, and then B, the people that do, maybe the people that aren't as effective with it. And then there's still a little bit of a learning curve. You got to kind of know how to do it. Milliken's going to show off a little bit more as his videos go on. But, the average Joe that's just kind of hearing about this through the grapevine, he's probably not going to be dialed in when he gets there. It's going to take him a day or two. And then the other thing is how often do you really have to go fish 2 or 3 days, and it takes you a day or two to figure it out. So I think the bite will stay good. There's a tremendous amount of fish. It's unbelievable the amount of them. And these are some stupid fish, or they were. while I was. They were stupid, and so I think it'll go on, and I think into the spawn it could go really well. The reality is the fish are there, and as long as the habitat stays there, they're not going anywhere. Now, one thing we need to be careful of, and I'm not, this isn't me criticizing anybody, but there's a trend when these lakes get hot like this one and choke to box your best 5 or so, and that's one thing that really worries me. A lot of people are keeping their best 5, and I think it's really good for pictures, and I think it looks really good, but we just got to be careful on that. You know what I mean? These lakes get hot, and we're running around with all the ladies in our boat. We're just driving them around and then throwing them back. It's not a good thing, I don't think.
Yeah, there's definitely a timing, more of a time of the year deal where that has a less of an impact, like you mentioned, like when it gets hot. Like right now, this time of year, it's not as big of a deal. Like late fall, not as big of a deal.
For sure.
There's things where, like you mentioned, though, when those temperatures get warmer, those fish get much more fragile.
Yeah. The other thing I'd be worried about, too, is catching them. Like, if you're catching them out of 20, 30 foot of water, you have to worry about the air bladder in them.
Yeah, we did have to fizz.
Guys might not be proficient at fizzing them.
Right.
Yeah.
Or not know that they need to be fizzed,
Yeah, which is actually something I thought about. I have really random thoughts in the morning when I wake up at 5 a.m. and drive to the lake.
All the time.
But I was sitting there and I was driving, and there was a kayak tournament going on at Lake Murray, and one of the things I was thinking about, it got me on the topic of spotted bass and how they're catching them really deep, and it had me thinking of sometimes there's a process with kayak fishing of taking the picture, and some guys, what they do is they put these like what are they called? What is it?
It's like a fish leash, right? That's connected. And you can put.
It's essentially like a fish-friendly grip that holds them on. You can put them in the water, kind of like you would I can't even. My terms are horrible tonight.
Like a stringer.
Yes. There. You see, you guys have got me. But essentially, that's like their way of keeping the fish in the water so that it's not out of the water while they're trying to get all their stuff ready for the picture and all that jazz. And it had me thinking, like, sometimes that might take 2 to 3 minutes if they're catching those fish deep. If kayak guys don't know how to fizz, like that could be that could be bad. That could be obviously hurtful to fish. It's an interesting topic, I think, to think about, because most guys, at least myself and a lot of everybody I've talked to kayak wise, they don't carry a fizz needle with them.
Yeah.
Which is something I'm doing.
Yeah, that's true. And the kayak guys, they're fishing offshore as much as they're shallow nowadays, it seems like.
Yeah.
Totally random.
Yeah.
So,
really
go ahead.
I think Ryan Dahl's question is coffee worthy, because it sparked a very good conversation of talking about how those fish are impacted. So I think Ryan Dahl wins the first bag of Outdoorsman coffee tonight.
Sweet. Yeah. Hit us up and send us a message on either Facebook or Instagram and get us your address, and we'll get that out to you.
Heck yeah. And Ronnie, if you're cool with it, we have another bag to give away tonight. So if you see a question that you like, we can have.
Dude, man, I actually see one I like.
We could do 2 in a row.
It was Zeb Matthews. This is just one I'd like to answer. Zeb Matthews asked if I think that the Share Lunker program is beneficial in Texas.
Oh, heck yeah. That's a really good question. Great job.
And so that's a big controversy going around. I was watching Low Budget Live today, and Luke brought it up as well. And, that's I don't know how qualified I am to really talk about it. But the reality is I fish a lot. I fish, virtually every day at a lake that Parks and Wildlife puts a lot of resources into. And so I think the problem is a lot of, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I think the problem is a lot of people that critique the program are a little bit short-sighted on the long-term effects. And I think it's kind of like with Giant Sylvania. Giant Sylvania gets into a lake, Parks and Wildlife finds out, and they have to spray it to kill it. Well, the locals freak out because they're spraying vegetation. They don't want to kill any vegetation. Problem is, short-term, it may kill the vegetation. Long-term, it helps from spread and the takeover of Giant Sylvania. I think the same thing with Shared Lunker program. I think short-term, some fish, obviously, they die. But I think, overall, Parks and Wildlife, man, they know what to do with these fish. Ben said that Zark 16.4 would have died had they not been there. They resuscitated it, got it into really good health, got her looking stable, got her looking good, and they felt like she would not have made it had they not done that. So I think they know what they're doing. You know, they're biologists. Obviously, you see all the shearlunkers. I don't know how many people see them, but right now in Texas, all these lakes are popping out shearlunkers and these huge 40, 50-pound stringers in tournaments that, I mean, it's mind-boggling. Now, of course, the technology helps, but the fish are there. And so for me, it's hard to argue with a program when these lakes are having a lot of success. Fork's tough. Fork is extremely tough. But also, Fork can be really good. And Fork gets a lot of pressure. It's got a lot of fish, but, you know, you get a lot of really tough situations at Fork. And anytime Fork has an opportunity to heat up, it's got such a big group of anglers really close to it, you know, because we're an hour from DFW. And so if it heats up and it's two or three good days of fishing, then, you know, it gets bombarded, where some of these other lakes may take a couple weeks to a month, 2 months to really get crowded, you know. But yeah, I think it's hard to argue with the results of the shearling program. And talking to Ben Milliken, Luke Duncan, Darren Craig, these guys that are outside of the state of Texas looking in, they're like, why would you not give the fish to shearlunker? Look. You know, Milliken's like, dude, every time I come down here, I have the best fishing trip of my life. You know, every time he's in Texas, it's like it's the best, and it keeps getting better. So it's hard. You know, sometimes when you're here, you know, maybe you get insensitive to it, and you just, you know, you're callous and you don't notice the benefits. But I definitely, Zeb, I think it is the reason that, and I think from all these shearlunkers, we're going to find out a lot. We're going to find out where they're from and when they were stocked and that sort of deal.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. It's beyond Texas. I don't know another fishing game that takes more precedent and priority in bass than Texas does.
For sure.
Yeah. And
we're all over here griping about it. That's what's funny.
What's that?
I said, we're all down here complaining about them.
Oh, dude, you would hate New York.
Yeah.
They do not care whatsoever. They spray milfoil and hydrilla up here. It's no bueno.
That is no bueno.
Yeah.
All in the name of homeowners and the boating associations and whatever. Like,
yeah.
Pleasure boaters before fishermen, I guess.
Yeah.
So is that your question then for your...
Yeah, man, I think that's a good one for sure.
Zeb Matthews, reach out to us, but I know we...
Good question, Zeb.
And we'll get
good question.
Coffee sent your way.
So I have a question for you, Ron. What about those smallmouth being caught down there? Are they mean mouth or are they actually like purebred smallies?
You got me, dude. I'm Texas born, Texas bred. I live in East Texas. If I catch something that's brown, I'm cutting my line. All I've ever caught, I've caught smallmouth one time when I went to South Dakota, but I don't know, dude. I think they're smallmouth. I think the reality is those biologists are picking them up. I think they know, dude. And also smallmouth are, I think, just looking at the record, it seems like smallmouth are bigger than the hybrids that they're showing. But I don't know, dude. They're big. My buddy Wyatt Franklin just caught like a 760 or something today.
Yeah, I heard there was like an 8-pounder caught today.
Yeah, dude. Are you kidding me? It's crazy.
And that's why I brought it up, because somebody commented on it when I was scrolling through, like, that's not a smallmouth, it's a mean mouth. Yeah. I was like, I don't know.
I don't know what kind of mouth it is, but that sucker's brown, and they said it's mean.
That's true. They are.
Yeah, dude. I know all the lake record holders out there now.
That's funny.
Ronnie, quick question for you. So obviously you're a bass fishing guide. That's what you do for work, and I'm kind of curious the backstory on that, like why you got into guide. I'm always curious on that.
Yeah,
that's what
for sure.
Why guys chose to guide? Why that's the kind of line of work they wanted to get into, and that whole incentive.
Well, you know, it's funny. It wasn't something that I really wanted to get into. My wife and I ran some skate rinks here in Tyler, and they were selling them, and we were going to get out of that deal, and I really didn't have anything lined up. You know, one of my partners on the deal and I talked about some ideas, but, you know, I thought, you know, I'm fishing every day as it was, fishing a lot of local tournaments. And, you know, the better I did, the more people wanted to go fish with me. People were always asking to go fishing. So, you know, I had a buddy that was guiding at Lake Fork already. His name's Larry Barnes. He'd been there 20-something years, really established, has one of the biggest fish ever caught in Texas. And, I started really thinking about the guide business still. And I reached out to Larry and I said, hey, man, I'm thinking about something. I want to get your opinion. Larry's in his 60s. And I assumed, I was like 23, 24. I assumed it was going to be more of a, man, you're too young, put a little bit more time on the water and then you'll be ready. And I asked him, I said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a guide business. What would you think? What do you think? And he said, I think you'd be wonderful. He's like, I think people really enjoy fishing with you. I think you'd do good. And then he goes, what are you doing this weekend? You already come guide with me. And I was like, uh-oh. So I wasn't really planning on guiding before. Yeah, dude. So I started, man. We went out Thursday and fished. He and I learned a lot about guiding that day. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I started running trips at Lake Fork. And, I guided for about almost 4 years and then took a little break and got back into it at the end of 2018, going into December. I guided a bunch in December and then started doing it full time from there. So, it wasn't something I really wanted to get into. I had a passion and a desire to fish tournaments. That's what I love. That's what I love still. But that's what I really enjoyed. No, you got my cat's meowing. Hey, let that cat in. That's the only cat that I know. If you don't let her in the door, she just won't stop meowing, dude. It's freaking Oscar. Her name's Whiskey. Whiskey.
Whiskey.
Yeah, dude. So I really wanted to fish tournaments, and I think about 2010, I probably could have. I think 2010 I was fishing really, really good. My instincts were really good. We won, a lot of what we fished. The problem was my oldest son was 5 years old, started playing football, and I had a decision to make. And it wasn't a hard one. It was an easy one. I knew I wanted to be at those football games and practices, and so I didn't really pursue the tournament deal. And I had some customers that wanted to help get me there and that sort of deal, and I didn't do it, and I stuck with guiding. And then, man, I got burnt out, dude, to be honest with you. And there's just a lot to it, a lot of stress involved. You got the wear and tear on your boat, trying to sell a boat, trying to book trips, trying to catch fish, trying not to piss every other guide on the lake off, and trying to get sponsors, trying to do. Back then we had tackle shows, boat shows. Social media was coming up. Texas Fishing Forum was the hot spot for that, and trying to say it was just stressful, and I got out of it. And plus, I didn't make any money. Gas was $5 a gallon, and so I did a bunch of other stuff. And about 2015, I probably took about a year off of fishing. Going into 2015, I bought another boat, started fishing tournaments here and there, started running some guide trips. Went into 16, started running a few more guide trips, ran a big, month and a half trip down at Falcon, had a great time. And, started doing some social media stuff with a guy and kind of hit it from there. And then decided, hey, man, I'm going to go back into this deal full time. Going into 2019, started in December 2018 and, full time 2019, 20, and now going into 21.
Nice.
Yeah. And then YouTube's coming, dude. I don't know. As soon as I figure out how to turn this computer on. So I had to do it on my phone. Dude, I'm computer illiterate as it gets. I get on my computer and I can't figure nothing out. It's bad.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So when I figure out all this stuff, I'm going to have YouTube going. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited about it.
Heck yeah. I love YouTube. Anytime I get some downtime around, whether it's phone or obviously a laptop, I try to browse as many videos as possible. It's just something I enjoy, especially because if I'm not on the water, I'd rather catch fish than do anything else if I'm not able to be myself.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. But how many days would you say out of the year you're guiding?
It just depends, man. Anywhere from about 220 to maybe 260, 270. It's tough. I don't know how many I did in 2019, but a lot. Probably 250 plus in 2019. Last year was a little slower. I had a couple spurts I took off because of the Rona, and then just some cancellations here and there. But I stay about as busy as you can stay. Now on the water, I'm on the water a lot. I'm on the water 290, 280 days a year at least, maybe 300 on the water. Because I got high school tournaments. My oldest son, he fishes in high school. Him and his partner fished for the White House high school team. Got that going on. I take my kids fishing. My best friend Joe Don, we fish, some tournaments here and there. We'll fish some stuff this year. So take my nephew, who is just the most useless human being alive. Take him fishing. Dude ain't paid for gas at one time since I've known him, but take him out. stuff like that. So
charity event, I guess.
Yeah. I'm his uncle, I guess. All of a sudden,
freeloader.
Yeah, for sure. Can't even buy a cheeseburger.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you have any tournament background? You mentioned how you sometimes do some
You
tournament.
know, I fished a lot of stuff here locally. You know, I fished Fisherman, Media, all these little things. But, you know, really what happened was I started fishing tournaments, and I think we fished 3 tournaments and didn't get a check. And then I got to fish every day, so we started getting checks. And I just fished everything here around the house, you know, and fish a Monday nighter, Tuesday nighter, Thursday nighter, you know, fish something on Saturday, fish Bass Champs here and there and that sort of deal. So, you know, I did TBF one year, went to the national championship, and that was a lot of fun. But, you know, when it came time to fish the Opens, it was probably about 2010, 2011, and I just decided not to do it. And that's not to say that's not something I'll do one day. You know, I enjoy it. You know, I don't know if I'm competitive enough. I look at it like, would I want to compete against me when I was 24? And I'm like, no. And then I watch these guys. I watch Milliken. Dude, I mean, that guy, that's the kind of guy you got to compete in a Bass Open. You don't want to compete against that guy. He doesn't stop. I mean, these guys are like machines. They don't get tired. They're not scared of they don't have any sleep or food or anything. You know what I mean? Cold doesn't bother them. The hot doesn't bother them. Yeah. I wish I was that way. I'd be a liar if I said I was.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys are hungry. You know, they're all in the same boat of they're willing to put in the time and the hours and
for sure.
You know, the ups and downs. So I mean, like, you got to really want it at that stage to try to come out on top. And it's
absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. But
I think too, when you're fishing from sunrise to sunset every day, your body almost gets conditioned to it. So the first couple days you're like, oh, I'm exhausted at 4, but the next day you push a little more. Then you're 2 weeks in, you're like, oh, I'm not that tired anymore.
Yeah, no, your body gets conditioned. You know, it's called. I consider it you're in fishing shape. You know, and your body does get conditioned to it. You know, the mental side of it's the other part of it that, you know, I don't think people. You have a bad day on the lake. Well, dude, you might go into a tournament, a 4-day tournament, and you just had 3 bad days on the lake, and you can't figure anything out. And now you just, you know, and you just, I don't know, man. It's a tough life. Those guys that do it, man, they're serious about it and they're good. I don't know if we truly understand how good fishermen are, but when they get into that groove and they're starting to win derbies or, you know, getting top 10s, those guys are good, man.
It's kind of like the Patrick Walters effect. He won Fork last year, and then he almost wins the St. John's doing the same. And then he gets a top 50 at Fort Loudon, I think, which for anybody there, that is a huge accomplishment. It seems like to catch at least a limit. And I'll be interested to see how he does the rest of the year because he definitely has momentum swinging in his favor.
For sure. Going into Fork, he'd come off an Open, second place in an Open using live scope. You know, he's that dude's dialed with the scope, man.
Oh yeah, he's as big as it gets when it comes to sniping.
Oh man, he is. He snipes them. That dude's good. And the work ethic, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unmatched. Those guys are same thing for YouTube. I mean, you watch these guys that I was with this week, and are you kidding me, man? They're for real, dude. That Justin Royal, I don't know if you guys have heard of Justin Royal, but Justin Royal is a freaking grinder, dude. He just doesn't stop. It's work. And it's mind-boggling, you know. It's nonstop.
Yeah, I think Milliken as well. I don't know Royal very well. I'm actually just kind of from the posts that have been coming out of these fish being caught. I discovered Royal, so I'm starting to dig into his content and explore that a little bit. But on Milliken, I can say that a lot of people don't really give him the credit that he deserves for how good of a angler he really is.
Oh my god, dude, he's unreal, insane. One of the best I've ever fished with.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited because he mentioned when he came on the show, not this year, but possibly next year, the year after, that he was going to take a shot at the Opens, and I think he's very dangerous.
I can just tell you, buckle your seatbelts. There's a lot of changes coming up with Milliken. Milliken's got a lot of stuff coming up. We're about to see, you know,
he's moving to Texas.
Do what?
Is he moving to Longhorn State, coming down to Texas?
Man, I don't know, but I'll say this. You know, people have talked a lot of smack about YouTubers, and I got a feeling Milliken's going to be the one that's going to step up to the plate and prove them all wrong.
Oh heck yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
He's the next level, dude. The guy's good.
I think the only other guy, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody else that could take that step and prove themselves, is Mikey Balls fishing.
For sure. The difference is Milliken can catch them in 6 ice.
Yeah. True.
He's as good in ice as he is flipping reeds, you know. Yeah. That's what makes Milliken so scary. And then the other one's going to be Justin Rackley, your Lake Fork guy. He's a really, really good angler as well. I knew him before YouTube, and he was a really good fisherman back then, so he's obviously better now. But yeah, I think you know, they see a lot of TikTok stuff. Who's the best YouTube guy? And I'm like, dude, there's not even a number 2 as far as I'm concerned. Milliken's freaking insane.
Puts out some dang good content, that is for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
A question for you before we start wrapping things up here a little bit. So if the folks have any more questions here for Ronnie, put them down in the chat. But when it comes to Texas fisheries, if you dial in a lake, will that translate amongst the rest of the lakes, or are they pretty diverse in how they set up?
Yeah, I think it can, you know, so it just depends. So like Lake Fork and Lake Palestine, they're going to set up similar. Oh man, that's tough. Yes and no. I mean, East Texas, a lot of these lakes are really, really similar. Rayburn, Toledo, Fork, they're all Pines. They're all going to kind of be the same. You know, they've got a shallow north end with a fine river system. They got a deep south end with good offshore structure. And then you got some other lakes that set up completely different, like Travis and Ivy and Falcon, that got a lot of rock in them, and that, you know, maybe it plays the water clarity and that sort of deal. But, you know, a lot of times in a certain area, it's, you know, fish are up shallow spawning, you catch them on a sinker or a frog, you can kind of run around anywhere and catch them up shallow on a sinker or a frog.
Good to know. Heck yeah. Just trying to get a little bit of juice here before I head down to Texas here in June.
Dude. Where you going?
We'll be
going in June.
So there's the classics going down there at Ray Roberts, and I'm competing in the Bass Nation Kayak National Championship that's in conjunction with it, and that's on Possum.
So. Nice, PK. Yeah, that's another Clear Lake. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm getting some info here and there.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude. You have fun at PK. PK's awesome.
Heck yeah. But
sounds like you need a scope on that Hobie.
Yeah. If I can afford.
Hey, there's no hope without the scope.
Yeah.
I like that.
If I can afford live scope, I mean, I'm probably gonna get a boat at that point.
I heard that.
But yeah. But Andy, do you have anything else left for Ronnie here before we hit him with our last question?
So I guess first thing is when I come to Texas, I'm calling you because I want to go catch some giants. But second of all, what is your favorite part about guiding as opposed to fishing tournaments?
Probably, you know, it's a little bit less stressful. You know, guiding's stressful because you got customers in your boat. You're only as good as they are. You know, you're getting paid a lot of money to perform, but tournament fishing is just it's competitive, dude. It's another, and that competitive stress is another level. You know, I don't know, and then the other thing is it's not a gamble. It's kind of like when you're building houses. I build houses in between. And you can build a spec house, which is one you're building, you know, hoping to sell, or you can build a custom home, which is you're building a house for somebody with their money. And the reality is when you build a custom home, you know exactly how much you're going to make. So you know you're not going to lose any money, but you're not going to hit a home run. When you build a spec house, you can make a whole lot of money or you lose a whole lot of money. And so it's kind of the same for me. I'm just not that much of a gambler. I wish that I was. I don't really have the ability to gamble anybody else's money. You know, I don't mind working with sponsors, but I can't take a customer who's, you know, multimillionaire and take his money and go gamble it so he can make a tax write-off with it. That's just not my deal. Hey, not knocking anybody that does it. Hey, I'm glad they got that opportunity. Not my deal. So for me, the guiding is just less stressful. I know what I'm making. I know I'm eating that night. And again, The other gamble's YouTube. I think to be really, really good and to make a living in YouTube, you got to like dive in and go full time. You can't anymore. You can't go in half cocked. You got to be able to edit really, really well. You got to be able to put out good content and a lot of it from the get go. You can't start out and just put a video a week, you know. So I think in all three aspects of fishing, which would be the tournament side, the entertainment side, or content side, and then the guide part of it, I think it's kind of all the same. You know?
Yeah.
The guiding's guaranteed.
Yeah. There's a lot of time that's involved in the YouTube thing and trying to do, because sure you can do it, but if you really want it to grow, you have to invest a lot of your time into
for sure.
It. Yeah.
And you got to put out good content. That's the biggest deal, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got to be good stuff.
Definitely. Well, I got two more things for you before we wrap up here. And first thing, I'm very curious. Is there a story you have from guiding that kind of stands out? Maybe something like like a crazy thing that happened. Something like first thing that comes to mind. Some kind of guiding story here.
I'll tell you something that happened the other day. I feel like I've seen it all because I've spent the majority of my adult life on a dang boat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so like I carry my boat's kind of like my office. I got oatmeal cream pies and stuff in there just in case I get like hand lotion. But I had something happen the other day I've never had happen. I was at Choke Canyon, and I was with a good customer of mine, Craig Stamps. And we're both on the front deck throwing chatterbaits up in the grass. And my trolling motor's not completely bogged down, but there's a lot of hydrilla on it. So it's not just burning when I'm hitting the button. It's kind of slow because it's bogged down a little bit with grass. Well, I hear a stick in it. There's a lot of little salt cedars in the water, and I hit my trolling motor, and it's going don't. So I pull the cord and I lift it up and I'm pushing the button at the same time as I'm lifting it up so it'll, spin and throw that grass and that stick off.
Well,
and
I guess
I look down. Do what?
A fish went flying. There was
a 3-foot-long snake.
Oh, no.
Just like this, end over end, into the water, and then just went. And I was like, ah!
Yeah, no thanks.
Oh, I don't even know what kind of snake it was. It was brown with black spots, and it was this big around. Oh, dude, it was terrifying. But that's never happened. I've never hit a snake with my freaking troll motor. Yeah.
That's nuts.
That snake.
Yeah, dude, it was wild.
Well, I'm glad I'll probably never run over a snake on Lake Erie. So
I just don't feel like people run over snakes. I don't think that's a thing.
Oh man.
Well,
I could just imagine like slowing down on the trolling motor, all of a sudden it like comes up the shaft and tries to catch the boat. I'd be in the water.
I couldn't handle it, dude. I used to not be scared of snakes. Now I'm terrified of them.
Yeah, I don't play around with snakes. No thanks.
No reason to.
But yeah, so Ronnie, our last question for you here, something we asked to everyone who's new to the show, and that is if you could sit down, have a beer, a steak with 3 different individuals. They don't have to be fishing industry, and they don't have to be presently alive. They could be alive 1,000 years ago. Doesn't matter. If you're going to invite 3 different individuals, sit down, pick their brain, who are you inviting?
Man, that's a good one. Donald Trump's going to be one of them. I just want to sit down and see how he's like. The next one probably would be Kevin Van Dam. Huge KVD fan. I feel like he's the Tom Brady of fishing. And then third, gosh, man, that's tough. Maybe, dude, I don't know. I'm trying to be all sentimental. I don't know. Maybe my grandma. My grandma's not, but when I was a kid, all I cared about was fishing. That was the only thing I cared about. I had no other goals, I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to fish. Always been the way. And my grandma always made sure I got to fish. I'd like to sit down with her and just discuss whatever and let her see that, hey, it's all I do now.
That's awesome.
I made it a real job.
Right. Dude, we've had a bunch of people, and I just want to cover this real quick. We've had a bunch of people mention Trump before, And it would be very interesting, not only just him, but people in from a political standpoint in general, to see what they're like behind the doors of media.
That's kind of what I would like to do. I like
yeah.
I'd like to see.
No cameras, no nothing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to see
exactly.
what you like. Yeah,
exactly. I just got a couple questions I need answered for myself. Just so I know.
Right. Well, dude, we want to obviously say thank you for taking the time out of your night, and we appreciate you coming on and chatting. And it sounds like a bird told me that next week we'll be having dinner together in Texas.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it looks like you're coming down this way, so look forward to that for sure.
Heck yeah! It's gonna be good to meet you, dude. But yeah, we appreciate you taking time. It's been a blast.
Thank you guys for having me on, man. Look forward to the next time.
For sure.
Heck yeah. Sounds good, man.
All right.
Take care, Ronnie.
See you guys.
Good people. Yeah, I got a text from Destin today. He goes, "Hey," "It's funny you're having Ronnie on tonight." And he's like, "We're having dinner with him next week when we go down to pre-practice for Fork." And I'm like, "Oh, sweet. Perfect timing." So yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be good to meet Ronnie. Obviously, that was good chatting with him and learning a lot about Texas and how it sets up and how that polar vortex truly helped the fishing.
Yeah. I mean, it might not have helped it on some lakes because, I mean, some lakes had just ice on it. But
right.
I'm sure it was greatly beneficial to some others, as we witnessed over the last week on social media since Ben left Ivy, and it seems like every day there's a share lunker getting posted out from that lake. It's just insane.
I bet you the big news from Milliken is he's buying Old Ivy to fish for himself.
That'd be nuts. Hot take. Could you imagine?
Caleb and I were joking about that today because he's like, every year Chickamauga gets harder and harder because more and more people are fishing it. And he goes, here's the solution. We buy Chickamauga and we fish it ourselves.
I wonder what the price tag would be from the U.S. Army of Engineers, like the Army Corps of Engineers. Because it's TBA lake, so
because it's a national resource.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to, but just to put like a price tag on it would be insane.
Could you
buy all the property, all the houses, all the boat ramps?
Trying to make Lake Chickamauga a private fishery. Could you imagine how much money that would cost?
So John said 15-pounder was caught on Travis yesterday. Sounds like
that. It was
a good time, Bailey.
Cool kid, I think. Crazy. Texas is popping off, dude. Those lakes that are frozen that are kind of late to the catch, you're probably gonna see them pop off.
Yeah.
Almost got ice too. Like Grand Lake was coated in safe ice, and I think that's gonna help the fisheries down there. Because I mean, ice out up here is always really good. So,
speaking of which, I think I'm getting my boat this weekend. So
that's early. You said 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I might go get it this weekend. I'm gonna go drop it off at Lime probably on Sunday to get serviced, and hopefully the soft ice disappears here in like 2 weeks, so I can get my boat back and be ready to hit the ground rolling to crack some bigs.
Or just come meet me down here in Tennessee or Texas, and we'll go fish.
I want to make sure it's good so I can guide, so I have no issues. Like, that's my biggest worry. So,
yeah, real quick, I saw in the chat, Scott Klein, if you're still watching, I would totally stop in Virginia on my way back. Reach out to me on my personal social media, whether Facebook or something, to get in touch beyond just YouTube, and then we can chat about getting out on the water. I would love to come fish Virginia for a day. I've been hearing some really good things. So, and I need a halfway point because there's no way in heck I'm driving from Texas all the way to New York. So, yeah, let me know. I would love a way to come get out in the water with you.
Are you driving your car to Texas now?
No. So the plan as of right now is Destin drove home from TakLogic, the Tennessee River, and Jackson Sullivan, who we've had on the show before, is 40 minutes north of Pickwick. So we're going to drive on this coming Saturday. I'm going to drive, leave my car at his house. Destin's going to meet me at Jackson's place, and then we're going to roll the Fork from there.
Sweet.
So then when I get back, I might actually stay at Jackson's house for a night, and we'll go fish Wilson or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Jealous.
I'm gonna have like 10 different state fishing licenses at the end of this trip.
You should just buy your yearly, your lifetimes for each state, and you'll be set.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? Go fish wherever I want. But we're gonna get some really cool. I've been filming all day, every day. I think the only day I didn't film all day was with Rudd because there's also piss pouring rain all day long. I wasn't catching very much, so if you guys want to see the content from that day, obviously Alex is going to be posting that video here soon. That day, beyond just him catching fish, was an absolute riot. Alex and I were mentioning, because Alex and I have been talking for a while, obviously over phone, but never actually had a chance to meet each other. And at the end of the day, he was like, we were chatting. He goes, "Oh, I'll see you later, dude." And I'm sitting there, I'm like, "See you later." And he's like, because from New York, and he goes, "Oh crap, forgot this is you don't live here." It was one of those days where it was a fun time with the boys. So definitely look out for Rudd's video because it was a bonkers day. But I'm hoping I'm gonna get off here soon, dude, because I am whooped. But
yeah, you gotta get up early and go hit the water again. So
yeah, I'm getting back at it. Tomorrow's gonna be an early morning for me because all my stuff is totally unorganized after today, so I have to re-rig everything. I bring like my tackle bag, and I brought obviously my kayak organization stuff. So I'm like swapping back and forth when I go on the boat with Caleb or go on the kayak. So got to swap everything over tomorrow. I don't even know what my plan is yet, so I need to figure that out. Need to hit the hay. I still haven't even eaten.
you got that Bojangles waiting for you.
Yeah, dude. So quick shout out to Ronnie Moore for telling me to try Bojangles. He told me to try Bojangles back in November. I never tried it, but I finally have Bojangles. It's chilling here. Yeah, there we go. There's my finger. So yeah, we're gonna try Bojangles. I've heard high praise. If anyone's in the chat has had Bojangles, let us know. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm just really hungry. But we got 4 more days in Tennessee. 4 more to get it done. Hopefully, at least catch a fish over 4 pounds. just at least prove to myself that I don't suck. Because I can catch fish, I just can't catch any size.
You'll catch him, don't worry. So we had what? Ryan, was it Ryan? Yep, Ryan won a coffee bag, and then Zeb
Matthews.
Yep. So make sure you reach out to us and hit us up with your addresses on our social page, and we'll get those coffee. We'll get the bags of coffee out to you guys.
And Zeb Matthews has actually won an Angler Bullseye on the show before, so I think we already have his contact info. I'll go back through and get that sent out. But huge shout out to everybody that tuned into the show tonight, and we'll appreciate you guys always tuning in. It means a lot to us, and hopefully we can keep pumping out some shows for you guys. And we're trying to get an episode together for Wednesday, but I think we might not have a show Wednesday. Obviously, we'll keep you guys updated on the social media. But on Friday, we are going to drop our Tennessee River recap episode with Adam Bartik and obviously with Adam Deacon.
Yeah, so we got to find a time for Adam to squeeze in because he's practicing there for that.
We'll get it taken care of, and we'll get it uploaded for the folks. But most likely that episode will be up on Friday. But I think if that's all that you got, Andrew, I think we're going to call it a night.
Heck yeah. Sounds good to me, man. You guys, everyone have a good night.
Good night, folks.